Hi, I'm Lisa Fox, a co-director of Florida Center for Inclusive Communities and a professor at the University of South Florida. I began my work in disability as a special education teacher. My passion was teaching children with severe multiple disabilities. When I began teaching was when the first public law for special education services was passed that mandated education for all children with disabilities, including those with the most significant disabilities. So in my community, a public school was established at the institution for children with severe disabilities in the community, as well as the children who lived in the institution. I love teaching, but what I wanted after witnessing the impact of institutionalization on children with disabilities was for all children to be educated in the community. The institution was a dehumanizing environment where no child, no adult should live. I went into the doctoral program at FSU with the hopes that I could make a difference for children with disabilities. So my focus was on early childhood special education, and the beginning of my doctoral program was when a public law had just been passed to mandate preschool services for young children with disabilities. During my doctoral program was when a lot of research was being published and people were very engaged in demonstrating that even students with the most severe disabilities could be educated in classrooms with their typically developing peers. So they could be educated in general education settings. And actually, the education of those kids in general education settings was superior in outcomes for those children than being educated in special schools. That was really exciting research, and my doctoral mentor and I really wanted to contribute to that and to bring those findings into our teacher training. Unfortunately, school districts in Florida, especially principals of special schools and special ed directors, were not as excited about that research and pretty resistant to change, even though it was in the public law. So as a result, our students who were training to become teachers weren't allowed to go do field experiences in their schools, and they refused to support our teacher training grants and our research grants. So it didn't stop us. So instead, we had our students work with children with disabilities with their families and in the community. And then we got a teacher education grant, a training grant, where we provided summer camp to children with disabilities, but it was mostly typically developing kids. So we did a full inclusion summer camp. And so our teachers who came to that summer program learned about how to do inclusive practices within the context of this program that we had developed that included just a few children with very significant disabilities with their typically developing peers. We had a blast that summer, and our students who are training to be teachers learned so much. We also helped establish an advocacy group, and that advocacy group was really vocal about some new school construction that was happening at the time, and we prevented them from building schools with special education wings where children would be segregated and the faculty who taught them would be segregated as well in separate wings within those elementary school buildings. So we didn't want brick and mortar buildings to be a barrier to inclusion happening, because all the research said it was important and the public law offered it to children with disabilities. In addition, in our advocacy group, a small group of families who had their children in a special school requested that their children be moved the following year and have a placement in a full inclusion setting, to be in the general education classroom in their neighborhood school. And because a group of them, and I think it was 6, asked for it at the same time, the school district really couldn't work around it. They really had to adhere to the federal law and give those children an opportunity to be fully included in their regular neighborhood school in a general education classroom. So they did, and those children did wonderfully in those settings, and their peers were very accepting and supportive of them. I left FSU to take my first faculty position at the University of Florida. Still, people were very resistive to change. I even had special education faculty colleagues warn me not to support families who wanted their children included because they didn't feel like the schools were really ready to be able to do that. And it would look poorly on the Department of Special Ed at the University of Florida. I really couldn't veer from that commitment. So I continued to be an advocate and was proud to be a part of a group that started an organization called Advocates of Inclusion, where we really were able to get a lot of great change to happen. So my passion for inclusion and commitment was not without consequences, and maybe I was naive to the impact it could have on my career. At some point, it was no longer possible for me to continue at the University of Florida, and that really turned out to be a blessing. One door closes and another amazing opportunity opens. I joined the faculty here at the University of South Florida about 25 years ago. And they were really committed to inclusion and committed to evidence-based practices. And that's, clearly the research was there, the law was there, and the research was there. So happy I ended up here at the University of South Florida, and now so proud to be here and be able to co-direct Florida Center for Inclusive Communities. So now every day, I get to work on inclusion. So I have the pleasure of guiding states that are striving to improve the provision of high quality, inclusive early childhood services. In addition to being co-director at Florida Center for Inclusive Communities, I direct a national technical assistance center that's funded by the Office of Special Ed Programs. And what we do is help states and programs address young children's challenging behavior and improve the delivery of high quality, inclusive early childhood programs. So that's my story. Thank you so much for listening.
Please visit our website for more information about our programs, projects, and how you can get involved.